Yeah. Computer. I'm out of practice here. Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Vazmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratameti Mochi Veda Vivagine Yomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Avavedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satiguru Pranatosh Maham Om Shanti 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 Om. It's gonna get hot here because I closed the doors because of the dogs, and I'm gonna begin speaking as well. So I was saying that we are going to move on covering the topic of the qualifications. We covered the dispassion, the initial one, discrimination, as the most basic fundamental, our faculty of discriminating. Now we know that we need to first understand what Dharma is, and then begin discriminating between what is good for my growth from what is good for my sense pleasures, for my pleasures, what is good in the sense of which is going to bring me closer and closer to my spiritual elevation, from what is going to satisfy me momentarily according to my sense pleasure, my sensual desires, or what I want, what I like, my likes and dislikes, and so on. So, see, this discrimination begins at that level, and then it grows to become very subtle. So to become a discrimination between myself as the only reality there is, this consciousness, subject principle, discriminating myself as the light of consciousness, the illuminator of the field, the illuminator of the mind, and the illuminator of all objects appearing in the scope of this consciousness, from everything other than myself, meaning to say from all other objects. Right? So this discrimination, as it grows, our dispassion grows as well, okay? Because we are no longer being deceived by Maya to believe that I'm going to find happiness, security, peace, and love in people, things, place, events, circumstances, situations, etc., etc. We become wiser, and then our dispassion, our discrimination grows, our dispassion grows. The verse 12 is going to start entering the other aspects of these mental, emotional qualifications, which are the disciplines that are going to support the development of our dispassion, okay? So we need to have an ability to regulate and to discipline our sense organs, for example, our thoughts, for example, our actions, our words, as example. If we want to develop dispassion, if we want to develop a mind that can grow in this discrimination and dispassion, we have to have certain control in the way we receive the stimulus from the field and the way we respond back to the field. We need to develop certain control. And these disciplines to control these sense organs and the organs of actions are all within the third D, the disciplinary qualities of the mind that needs to be developed. Okay? The verse 12 says, the mind is resolved when blustered by dispassion towards objects. Its attention is removed from objects and repeatedly placed on the self. Can anybody help me? I did not have much time to prepare this class. What is the meaning of the word bolstered?
Bolstered, it means bolstered, built up, strengthened.
Okay.
strengthened, yeah,
Okay.
bolstered.
Okay. Oh yeah, bolstered. Okay, the mind is resolved when it's somehow it's made stronger by dispassion towards objects. Then its attention is removed, naturally removed, not forcibly removed. Okay, it is naturally removed from objects. It's not that I have to remove it from the objects. These objects that before used to affect my mind with a certain attraction, with certain gravitational pull, these objects no longer pulls my mind, you know? Why? Because my mind is resolved, it was made stronger by dispassion towards objects. And as we know, this dispassion, although the willpower it plays its role in this disciplinary development of qualifications, but it needs to be supported by the understanding that all objects are limited by nature, they are defect by nature, and so on. So therefore, such a mind which is strong, is reinforced, is bolstered by dispassion towards objects. Such a mind has its attention is removed from the objects and repeatedly placed on the self. Again, it all sounds like a sadhana that requires great willpower, but it is not that so, because through understanding, through knowledge, through, as the byproduct of following the logic as presented in our scriptures, we develop this nature, this passion, this nature, this interest in objects, and then our attention naturally remains placed on the self, as we understand that the self is not something other than myself. The self is not something that can be illuminated by my mind. The self is the illuminator of the mind, which as a reflection illumines the field of objects. Therefore, once I have this clear, okay, my attention remains naturally focused on the source of consciousness as my own self, rather than fascinated by what I illumine through my mind. So it all happens naturally. There is not much willpower. There is not much persistence of sadhana involved once this understanding is properly assimilated. You see? So understanding is everything. Yoga is the is the practice by willpower, to control our thoughts, our emotions, our words, our deeds, and so on. We want to control everything by willpower. And it all has a certain value, a spiritual value in themselves. But when we come to Vedanta, we understand that the highest value is knowledge, understanding. Once we develop understanding, and this understanding begins to be free from doubts, vagueness, suspiciousness, when it has a clear, firm conviction of itself. For as an example, the fact that the objects, they are defect by nature, limited by nature, and so on, that there's nothing that intrinsically possess happiness, peace, love, and security. So all these analyses are going to help us to develop this passion, okay? And that's the way to go. By understanding, we become equanimous, dispassionate towards what life presents to us, all these objects of experience. Okay? But it takes some work of reflection, contemplation, resolution of doubts, and so on. This passion is subject to a great deal of misunderstanding. Often it takes it's taken to mean that one should remove the attention or renounce desires towards objects by force of will. Yeah? When we talk about dispassion, we think of austerities. I say, now I'm not going to eat now for 5 days. I'm not going to open the fridge. I'm not going to do this or that. So it sounds like it's a war here. It's a war. It's my mind over my desires. It's my resolve over my desires. My conscious mind against my causal mind, my subconscious mind. So it's not really that the best way to develop dispassion, but usually it's taken to be like that. Should remove the attention or renounce the desire towards objects by force of will. People also believe that dispassion is a condition of total indifference or lack of interest in the world, in the objects of the world. People say, no, I want to be totally dispassionate. It means to say that I don't enjoy Italian gelato anymore. I don't enjoy a nice chocolate cake, or I don't enjoy sex with my friends or anything, No, dispassion does not mean necessarily walking away from the world, unless one is really so dispassionate that those vasanas they have dried up to an extension, to such an extent that unless somebody presents you with a nice gelato, you're never going to come to think about the desire for a gelato because you're satisfied on your own. But then if somebody presents a gelato, you may say, like, why not? I have had it some time ago, and it's a nice experience, and I think my tummy can handle it. But it's not being generated by one's vasanas, one's desires. So it could be that one has lost interest. But dispassion does not mean that one has completely and indifferently lost interest. It does not mean total lack of interest in the world. This is why some of us equate dispassion with becoming a hermit or performing severe austerities intend to suppress our interest in the world. So a lot of people think that that's the way to go to develop dispassion. Let's go to the Himalayas, let's stay in the cold, throw away our shoes, find a cave and go through all kinds of adversities so that I become tough like a rock, totally dispassionate about the unpleasant situations life can provide me with, So no, dispassion is not necessarily something like that. It's not about developing this ability, this austerity, this ability to handle any kind of pain or adversity, although this ability to put up with adversity, it also has its spiritual value. But I don't want to self-inflict those austerities, those difficulties, those adversities on me. But I want to develop a certain strength that whenever these difficulties, these cries, these austerities comes to me, I can handle that with dispassion because I have developed a strong mind, a dispassionate mind, a discriminate mind, a mind with an ability to handle difficulty. We call it forbearance, resistance, titikshwa, ability to handle difficult situations. So everything has its value, but we don't need to pursue it. Although there are some tapas that are produced in India, as sadhanas that serve the purpose to make us a little tougher, So someone may say like, "No, I'm going to fast for 3 days." So for 3 days, I'm going to have to deal with my vasana for food. But I have made a conscious, deliberate decision to tough up and to say no to that vasana and just keep my mind clear and clean and keep doing my vasanas and prove to myself that I have certain strengths, mental, emotional strength. So things like that have a certain value You understand? It's not altogether empty of spiritual value, but it should not be just that our way to develop these mental qualifications, these mental qualities, right? Austerities again have certain play in our process, but it should not be an obsession about austerity, about being isolated from the moment, suppress my desires and so on. Understanding is the key. Okay. Vedanta corrects all these notions and misunderstands. Vedanta rather than forcibly turning our attention away from the objects or trying to force us to say no, to reject all objects, Vedanta will counsel us to pay attention to them and examine again and again their intrinsic limitations and defects, right? Instead of trying to suppress, instead of running away from them, going to the jungle, to an ashram, here and there, Vedanta is going to say, no, don't try to run away, don't try to suppress, don't try to reject it. Just understand the limitations of every one of these objects of desires. So all of these objects, if you follow, connect the dots and follow the logic as presented by the scriptures, you're gonna come to understand that, whoa, I'm chasing things here, I'm chasing away from things that I do not want. I'm running against, and doing all kinds of stressful activities to control the field, and dispassion is something else. Spiritual maturity is something else, is the understanding of the defects of everything that Nietzsche can provide me with. It does not mean that I'm against Mithya. It does not mean that I'm against the object. They are all beautiful creations of Maya, but I need to navigate in Maya knowing that none of those things are going to resolve my fundamental, essential, existential problem. That my existential fundamental problem can only be resolved by by understanding, by following this knowledge, very carefully examining, they're all based on my experience until I'm totally convinced that all objects are defect, or better said, they are limits in what they can provide with us. It's not a question of defect, actually, because everything has a certain utilitarian value. And they are not defect, they are just limited. There is no more than certain things can provide us with. So if you feel lonely, if you feel insecure, if inside you feel that you need love, validation, and approval, and so on, and then if you get in an intimate love relationship with someone from that perspective, it's not going to work, because very, very soon the other is going to understand that what you need is what nobody can give you, So nobody is going to give that. People can give you companionship, can give you intimacy, but nobody can solve your fundamental problem if your problem is the sense of incompletion, smallness, inadequacy, insecurity, and so on. So a relationship has a certain utilitarian value, but to superimpose or to project, my notions, my desires on a relationship and think that this relationship is going to resolve all my problems, this is delusion. It's total delusion. So we need to understand that every object is limited in what it can provide us. And it's not really a defect. It's because everything is defined by its properties, by its attributes, and every object is limited by what it can provide us with. It's all a combination of the three energies and the elements, and they are limited in what it can provide us and what it cannot provide us. We take money, for example, a lot of people think that money is a true, absolute source of security. You know? And when we analyze money, we end up understand that the money does not really produce the security that we imagine. Understand? Because with money, there is always a lot of other difficulties. Let's say now, what to do, how to invest the money, where to put the money, how not to lose, how to keep, how to maintain. You know, so things go south all the time, as Manji likes to say. The markets go down. Even the real estate market, that seems to be the most solid thing. You know, you never know. I lost a fortune in the United States because I was inclined to believe that the only safe kind of investments were the real estate before the crash, of course. And I met my landlord where I began my restaurant. And my landlord convinced me, he said, no, I'm a self-made millionaire. I came here as a kid. I went to the school and now I'm a professor and I'm an investor, but I only believe in the real estate. And he told me, you know what, I mean, real estate is called real because it's really real. Can you see this? And then he knocks at the bricks of the wall and say, this is real. You understand? It's real estate. This is what never lose value. So don't buy papers. Don't buy stock or anything. So I got excited about his example. I look at the market. The markets were growing 5, 10, 15% a year. I say, wow, this is a no-brainer. It's the easiest way to get rich. So I start putting my money into the real estate, and I crashed. I lost $250,000 because I had to come out of the game when the price were down. You understand? So there is no such a thing as security. Money has a utilitarian kind of property to it because it serves as an exchange. You know, you can buy things, you can exchange money. You know, it has certain energy and serves the purpose of transacting, purchasing things, and so on. But more than that, can it give us happiness? Because people think that if I get money, I get security, and if I get security, I get happiness. Have you seen how many millionaires and billionaires are unhappy in the world? How many people they go from drugs to alcohol to one divorce after the other, you know, and they are miserable. Some of them try to commit suicidal after they have had all money and success. Not only they feel insecure, they may have millions or billions, but they feel still economically insecure. But moreover, they feel emotionally insecure. The money did not brought about mental, emotional security. They don't have self-confidence. They're still begging, love me, appreciate me, understand that I'm a famous figure here. And then what happens with all these creatures after some time? They become old, especially Hollywood guys. They become old, they start doing those third-rate movies. And then when you see nobody gives a damn for them anymore, they are nobody. Just imagine the suffering of such a people, no? Totally identified with their body, with their status, their position in society. And they think that that was what was going to resolve the problem of security. So this dispassion only grows as we really analyze all of that. And then we develop understanding. And out of this understanding, we develop this beautiful, cool, very cool equanimity that to some people, in the eyes of some people, it almost feels like a kind of a cold, coolness, indifference towards the suffering and the pain of others, but it's not. You still can have a sympathy to people's sufferings because you know that they are suffering due to their ignorance. They did not get in contact with the scriptures. They don't understand what's going on. They project value on things that do not belong to certain things. That's the thing. You understand them, you feel sorry for them, but you are not affected by their suffering because you understand it. Everybody is being operated by ignorance. And you don't blame them. If we want to blame something, we should blame not the ignorant, we should blame ignorance. We blame ignorance, and what we can do about ignorance? We try to propagate the, the remedy against ignorance, meaning to say knowledge, understanding, whenever possible, whenever there is an opening. We try to help people to understand what's really going on here, right? So all objects, they have this intrinsic limitation. It's not that they are the fact, but they are limited. Limitation is a fact. Why every object is limited? Because objects are a combination of the energies and the elements that becomes a compound defined by its properties, but there is no such a thing as an object that possesses all limitless properties of the world. The entire sum of all objects provides us with all kinds of properties and qualities. But every object is just a small fraction or fragment of the totality of objects that covers all kinds of properties, right? So now every object is limited by its name, its shape, its color, and most important, every object is limited by its qualities and properties. You cannot have an object such as water and believe that, oh, this is such a good object because it somehow I'm thirsty, it quenches my thirst. But at the same time, I would like to use it as a fuel when I want to start my fire and use it to ignite my fire. No, when I use water, I'm going to suppress my fire, right? Why? Because I don't have a fuel property to water. I have to other objects, right? So every object is limited. We pursue objects because we believe they will free us from insecurity, which is the true cause of our unhappiness. I think we understand that. We all chase things because we want to remove this sense of insecurity, which is just a different way to say, I want to remove this sense of limitation. I feel limited. I still feel small. Okay? I feel like something is lacking here. This sense that something is lacking. This nagging voice that says, I need this, I need that. Okay? This is what brings about this sense of insecurity. I'm insecure because I don't possess what I would like to possess. If I would have this and this and this and that, and then I would feel complete and secure. This word security, this word adequacy, and happiness, they are different aspects of the same kind of condition. I want to resolve my life by feeling secure, free from this sense of lack, of limitation. I'm limited by what I don't have and I would like to have. I want things, and because I cannot accomplish that, that gives me a terrible sense of smallness and incompletion and limitation and so on. So we pursue objects because we believe they will free us from this nagging sense of inadequacy, insufficiency, smallness, and incompletion and insecurity, which is the cause of our unhappiness. But objects, being time bound, are themselves insecure. So the cause of unhappiness is this insecurity. And we want things, we want to accumulate things so that we can somehow resolve that problem. But we know that every object in the world is time bound. Is there anything that we can acquire that's not bound by time? Let's think about that. Is there anything that I can acquire as a means to try to secure and protect myself that is not bound by time? What can I have that would provide me security because that is not bound by time? Okay? There's no such a thing because every object is bound by time. Every object is bound by time. It has the beginning, a middle, and an end. It comes, it grows, it gets older, and it goes. Anything, anything, even a star, has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Everything in the universe is time bound. So there is nothing that I can try to gain, acquire, that would resolve this fundamental problem of insecurity and unhappiness. Because everything in me is time bound. And everything that is time bound gives us this sense of how long am I going to be secure with my new friend here, my new companion, with my new job, my new house, my new cat, my new doctor, my new this, my new that. How long are they going to be giving me this sense of security? Just to give an example, I was in a relationship with a holistic, homeopathic American doctor from Tacoma near Seattle for the past uh, 15 years, let's say. And I do consultations from him, even from Europe, because I have a trust. I consider him a unique kind of doctor. But this doctor, he has other ideas about his life, and he blew everything, and he bought hundreds of acres of land in Arizona, and he wants to take care of his wife and his children, and keeping selling his supplements and no consultation anymore. Okay? Because he believes there will be a huge earthquake in the Seattle area, and he wants to be safe, and he wants to be in nature, and he wants to go back to live from his herbs. He's a herbalist, and so on, and propagate his knowledge, write more books. I lost my doctor. You know, I never thought that my doctor would let me down that way. But everything that we have can never really provide us with a sense of stability, security, you know? Because everything can go at any time. This sense of insecurity remains with us as our most fundamental problem and can be resolved only by the means of, we know the answer, huh? Only by the means of self-knowledge or spiritual knowledge. So it's an delusion to think that an insecure, something that is time bound, can provide us or give us relief from insecurity. This is projection. This is superimposition. This is delusion, and we do it. We do that all over the place. Everybody does until we get credit card, we get in contact with the scriptures, and we start really looking more carefully and examining the facts. It's not a philosophy, Vedanta. It's not an opinion. Those are facts that can be proved by logic. And the logic is based on our own experience, on our own experience. We attribute a quality to an object that it does not possess. We keep attribute quality to things that they do not possess. We extend the natural boundary of the objects, and without asking permission to the object, excuse me, my dear, I love you, and this and that, but I expect much more from you. I want to extend your limitations. because I don't like the limitations that you have about you can do, about your temperament, about your taste for this and that. I want your intellect to be a little bit more bright. I want your emotions to be a little bit more cool. I want you to be a much better cook than what you are. I want you to talk a little softer. I want you to have a mind with the ability to listen more and talk less. We cannot ask that on any other. We cannot say that, okay, I want you, but I want to change you. No, because everybody is under the domain of Ishvara. Ishvara is the one that constructs each one of us. So it's a total delusion to think that we can control and change the objects in the field. We cannot ask that. So the idea that money equals happiness is very popular and is a total imposition on the value of money. It's the most common. Now, money has its utilitarian value. We can use it for exchange or for buy things and to live a comfortable life. But we cannot use it to purchase security, meaning to say happiness. We want to be happy. And happiness is a byproduct of a sense of limitlessness and security. And then we think that the money is going to give us a sense of limitlessness and security. But money can never do that. And we all know that because we have today, and no matter how much we have today, we're always going to be insecure because the more I have, the more I have to lose. Has any one of you lost money, hard-earned money? I lost. I know how hard it is to lose hard-earned money. Understand? And it happens right and left to everybody. When it happened to me, I was not prepared. It was like, it was tough. So it does not provide us with insecurity because any false move we do, and there it goes. The landlord from my restaurant near Seattle, he was a self-made man, very rich. And once he spread it out with residential real estate, and then he got the idea to move into commercial real estate. He started developing these high buildings and then renting for state kind of office, different kind of companies that worked with the government. He started doing that, contracts of 10 years and this. And then when the crash came, he nearly lost everything. He had two buildings that was going up. He had to stop, and that almost broke him. And then he ended up having a heart attack. And then they had to open his heart, open heart surgery, and changing several of those arteries. And he lost his health even after that. And because he was a multi-millionaire, he made a wrong move because people get greed. They say, oh, this is a piece of cake. Now that I'm at the top of my game, I can make some moves here and I can double my wealth, value here. So people lose everything very easily. Money does not provide. And the more I have, the more I have to lose. And on the other hand, the less we have, if you have a strong mind, if you have a wise mind, the less you have, the more secure you feel. Why? Because you don't need to maintain anything and you don't have anything to lose. Have you thought about that? If your mind is not craving for gaining, having, and keeping things, if you have gone beyond that, don't suppress that desire. But if your mind is over that, then you have a mind of a sannyas, and then you have this great sense of peace and security and happiness, because you don't need to stress yourself to gain things. You don't need to stress yourself to keep things, maintain things, not losing things. And again, maintenance, and so on. So you are happy and you are free. You have nothing to lose. You're just a light, you know. You move around with a few things. My life has become a 225-kilogram suitcase at the most now, and I'm really keep an eye so that that does not grow. You know? And I don't want to purchase any house anymore, because why I should purchase any house if there are so many houses available for rent? You know? I have to dig and then go into the resource of the planet that are already being affected, and then struggle to buy something. Forget it. You always want more. If our mind is under the spell of Maya and we are totally unaware of what's going on, we want more because we think I'm not happy and feeling secure because I did not get enough. I did not understand the problem is not how much I have to acquire. The fact is that it's my mind is weak and my mind feels insecure, and it believes that happiness can be gained by accumulating, gaining, acquiring things and keeping, you know. But it's a big mistake because there is no end for that. The more I want, the more I will want. I want more and more, and as Ramji likes to say, and I want more, I want better, and it's if possibly a little different. Why? Because mind becomes bored. The mind starts thinking like, yeah, but I want to diversify a little bit. I want more of these kind of things, better, and possibly a little bit different, just to give it a little bit more colors to it. We become fearful of everything. We become fearful of other people. I have this case in my family in São Paulo, here in Brazil, that the guy was very rich, but then he started neglecting his business because he got into risk, and then his partner, which was somebody very close to the friend, stole whatsoever was left of him, and he ended up dying a poor man. You know, so we don't have any security. We are afraid of people. People may take advantage. Everybody may be after my money, so I have so much things. So to have a lot of things is trouble. No? Only the smart people can understand it the better, can understand this American proverb. I don't know if it's an American one, but I learned in the USA and I love it. Less is more. You know that, Lynn? Less is more. Understand? Just simple. Less is more.
It's true.
So that which we thought would give us security and happiness, we thought it to be the key for happiness, has made us even more insecure, has made us even more lonely and frightened because the more we have, the more I'm afraid of collapsing when we have too much, you know. If I fall, the fall may be devastating. Just to mention another example, I have my brother in Brazil here that was a rich man for the past 20, 30 years. Very rich man, but the economy went like that with regards to the petroleum company, Petrobras, and the place where he lived for most of his life went into a depression, economic depression. And he's living in such a situation. He opened a pub when things were going well, and it collapsed. He lost, and he opened a very modern factory of handicraft beer when it was fashionable, and it's collapsing. He's losing everything, and Petrobras is being sold piece by piece. Very soon, he's going to leave. Now he will start living with, let's say, 100. Now he's going to have to start living with five. You know? 5% of what he used to live on, or 10% of the most. How he is going to be happy about that, you know? If his mind was, his whole life was dependent on his acquisitions, you understand? Mind cannot handle that kind of adaptation. We need to grow up. We need to follow this understanding, this teaching, this contemplation, until we can understand the limitation of object, the limitation of money as we speak, and all other objects again and again, until we abandon the superimpositions, these projections that we superimpose on objects, until we can see things for what they are, not denying their utilitarian values, but not over projecting things that do not belong to all objects, and in all objects of media. When this occurs, our mind becomes resolved. So when the mind is clear, when this knowledge is really firm, we are wise, you know, and then our mind becomes resolved. That is, we are able to rest in our principal goal. What is our goal? Once we understand the limitation of every object, you know, that nothing can resolve this fundamental essential problem, human problem, and then I just stay totally focused on my primary goal, which means freedom or moksha, through knowing the self to be the only security there is. We need to understand that the only security there is in that which is free of attributes, free of qualities, that which is not an object, but the subject, the only principle which is quality, attributeless, propertyless. Okay, there's nothing to me because I'm not an object made out of the three gunas and the elements. I'm the light that illumines the fields of the objects that are compounds produced by Maya through the energies and the five elements. They are all limited by their attributes, but I am free. I'm the only source of security, peace, love, and true happiness. Because I am consciousness, I'm existence. Huh? Unless we come to this and understand, we're going to be chasing objects. So, but once our mind is clear, once our mind is wise, we are able to rest and stay put on our principal goal, freedom through knowing the self to be the only security there is. Of course, the world is full of great many objects and countless impositions or projections. To negate the objects altogether, one by one, appears rather doubting, if not impossible. But we can deal with them in one bundle, so to speak, by introducing the concept of Ishvara. Let's recall that Ishvara is the name given to the order of creation, which is this universe made of names and forms and colors. You know? The combination of all universe, the causal, the subtle, and the gross physical objects. This universe, this Jagat, is impersonal set also of laws by which the universe is maintained and operated. Superimposition leads us to try to manipulate the field, the objects of the field, to try to gain some sense of security, peace, and happiness. We try to do that. Until we grown up, we understand that it is impossible because there are only two principles in existence. One is satya, one is mithya. One is objective, the other is a principle that somehow illumines. Not only it is the causal cause of Maya and the universe, but it's the only principle that exists, you know, as the illuminator of the field, although it remains as an independent principle, not affected by mithya. You know? Satya is the only principle that is free and independent of mithya, It illumines media, it sustains media without doing anything. And it's the only thing that is free of any kind of limitation because it's attributeless. It's just consciousness existence of the nature of limitlessness. It does not work to try to manipulate the field, to try to gain this sense of peace, security, love, and happiness. It's impossible mission. The only way is by understanding that which is the only source of peace, security, love, and happiness. Our conscious existence, that which is beyond time, beyond space. Often, when our initiative fails, we resort to prayer, imploring some deity to deliver the goods we want. This sometimes seems to work, but only because we coincidentally receive a return of some appropriate action soon after we have made our prayer. We make a miracle, but it's simply Shwara going about its impersonal business. This is nice. Huh? It means to say that sometimes in utter despair, we are trying to manipulate the field, we are trying to attract what we want and avoid what we want. We want to feel safe, secure, and happy, and satisfied. And then when our efforts fail, some of us say, okay, now I discover that there is some power in prayer, so I'm going to pray to Ishwara to help me in my endeavors so that I can accomplish my goals and so on. And Swami Dayananda, one time I heard him saying that. He said that a lot of these miracles, it happens and people attribute to their prayers. But if you really look into the phenomenon, so it happens because people are not only praying, but they are praying, but they are doing what is the most important. They are acting, in harmony with their goal, with the desire. They are doing everything possible to accomplish their goal, whatsoever goal. But he was also bringing Shwara into the account. You see, the most powerful prayer is a proper action in total harmony with the Dharma field and in harmony with my goal, whatsoever goal, if it's a spiritual or materialistic goal. This is the best prayer. If on top of that, I bring Ishwara into account and I pray to Ishwara and I say, Lord, I'm doing myself the best I can. I work 12, 15 hours a day and I'm not breaking the laws. I understand that my actions, my effort alone is not enough because there are infinity numbers of other factors that are going to contribute to my success or not success. Therefore, please, try to somehow facilitate the field, remove certain of these obstacles, so that efforts may be accomplished, may be gratified, but I may get what I'm working so hard. So we can ask him, please help us by removing the obstacles that would prevent the accomplishment of the goals that I'm so fully hearted, pursuing in a dharmic manner, and my goals are dharmic, they are sattvic goals, they're good goals. I need them, I want them, it's good for my evolution, and so on. And then we can bring Ishwara into account, and it's fair. And then if something happens, people can say, miracle, miracle. I was praying to Ishwara every day. But when we look at what I was doing, the most important prayer, which is proper, timely action in harmony with the Lord, in harmony with your goal. Right?
Can I have a question?
Yes, my friend, I'm moving too slow here.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Because this is a hard topic, the topic of security. No, because I don't know if I can explain in English. I try. Because in a way we can think, or we can say that Ishvara is providing everything. But like you say now, it's also good to have some goal. We have to do something for to say for money or for doing something in the world, or we can simply relax and say Ishvara is providing everything. I'm a little bit confused about that. I don't know if I am clear.
I understand your question. This is it's a relatively common question.
Mm-hmm.
We often say, relax, Ishvara is going to take care of you. And it does take care of us. But how does Ishvara take care of us? By giving back to us what we deserve.
Mm. Oh.
And if it gives back to us what we deserve, and if what we deserve is scarcity, suffering, pain, lack, and so on, and then that serves to indicate to us that we need to do better actions, you know. So it's always going to take care of us. It's always grace. It's actually giving back to us, facilitating our karma, and say, hey, you better do a better work. It's like the teacher when we are a kid in the school. You go for the examination, then you come, and then your result was very bad. It was insufficient. And then the teacher, if it is a nice teacher comes, hey, you know, don't feel bad about yourself. It just means that you need to do a little bit more work on this, you know, work a little bit harder, find some help, you know, and so on, and work hard, you're gonna get there, and so on. So it's a compassionate teacher. Ishvara is compassion. Ishvara is going to take care. So if we don't do proper actions and timely proper actions as well, no, we're going to be receiving some papa, and some papa serves the purpose to allow us to correct our behavior. You say, you know, I cannot go on like that anymore. I'm losing job after job because I drink too much beer in the evening, and then I'm tired, I'm lazy, I procrastinate in the morning, and then I start coming late to work, and then it's again and again I lost my job. So it's again and again signaling, you know, that I need to change my behavior. So what are we gonna do? I'm gonna not pray to Ishvara, please. So don't make it in a way that people do not fire me. No, Ishvara is stand up, get up, buy an alarm clock. Don't drink as much beer. Get up there with a good attitude and do the work, and nobody's going to fire you. We get what we deserve. Ishvara always gives us what we deserve. And another point here, Claudia, is like we should never want more than what we have, because what we have is what I deserve. You understand? And what I have, it's perfect because you know, I don't need anything. What we think that we need more because we have a mind stuffed with desires, which is a function of my sense of lack. I'm liking this, liking that because I have so many other desires. But we need to understand that the best lifestyle is to enjoy and love what I have, and preferably not have any desire for what I don't have. Preferably, you know, if I don't have it because I don't need, it's because Ishvara did not send it my way. So if I don't have a car, so be it. You know? I can be happy without a car, for example, right? There are a lot of public transportations in Europe, for example, not in some place in the USA. Right? So I need to learn to understand that my desires and fears is the source of our trouble, of our unhappiness. And I should begin just enjoying what Ishvara provides me because it is exactly what I need in my process of growth, of development. Instead, so how Ishvara is going to take care of me? Is going to provide what I need so that I can continue growing. And nowadays, almost nobody dies of hunger. people may die of psychological problems. In the United States, still such a rich nation that people do not die of hunger, because even when people lose their jobs and this and that, they become street people, which is more like an American phenomenon. In Europe, we don't see street people much. In USA, it's common, street people, but they don't die of starvation because there are all kinds of non-profit organizations feeding these people. They have other psychological problems that take them into alcohol and drugs, and then they get destroyed sooner or later, you know. But after all, everybody, if you take care of your mind, you can become even a street person in USA, and they're going to give you a bed to sleep, 2 meals a day, and the rest of the day you can be a street people studying the scriptures and meditating and contemplating, without having to run around to do any kind of gaining and acquiring and keeping and competing. You understand?
Mhm.
So
Okay.
there's so much abundance in the world nowadays.
Mhm.
So you feel insecure because you don't have enough? Is that the bottom line?
So the bottom line is that not that I don't have enough, but maybe a little bit. I am a little bit confused about the fact that I have to be maybe more independent. Not so much. I quite independent, but I feel like I have to be more independent in a certain way. So I don't want much money. I understand this, that I don't want much that, no, how you say, sorry, in English. I don't want much that I have now. Is this correct?
Yeah, I don't want much more than what I have now.
Exactly. Exactly. But maybe I have, in my mind, I have a thought that say maybe I have to create a little more money, not so much, but a little more to be a little more independent, you know, to go living on my own.
Independent. In which sense? You live with your dad, your mom?
Yes, in a certain way, I have a house alone, but because I live in a house where there is 2 houses inside. So I have a house, but it's of my parents, and maybe I have the desire to be more independent and go living totally on my own. I'm already on my own, we can say, because I live alone. I take care of my house alone, some things like this. But maybe I want to go back living in Spain. I lived in Spain a lot of years, but I worked a lot when I was in Spain. Here in Italy, I can work less. I can be more, quiet for studying also. I have some good conditions here for studying, for working on myself. And this is good in a way, but I feel I have to be a little bit more independent, at the same time. I have this little conflict.
Yeah, it's more like a sense of guilt that you should be something else, somebody else. You should be somebody more successful. You should have purchase your house and just show dad and mommy that you can do things, but it's not you. So you're a spiritual hippie in a way, or you're a kind of person that went to Spain to do side jobs and to have a good time, and then get into spirituality and yoga and the book that you wrote. So you are not a corporate guy, That's so it means that you have to live a simple life, and you have the privilege of having a mother or father that have a fraction of a house that is going to come to you when they are no longer around, right?
Yes.
So you have a good base of security, man. Of course, there is an earthquake there in the central part of Italy.
Yeah, it's near.
The house, they crumble there all the time, and then the security goes. So there is nothing secure in the world.
Exactly. but for the moment, in a way, I am in a good karma, we can say, for studying, for working on myself. So maybe I feel, yes, a little bit guilty because I say, yes, I have to do more.
Yeah, those are those thoughts that I should be something different. I should be more successful. I should, I should prove to others that, I can do this and accomplish that.
Mm-hmm.
Just try to understand what is your most fundamental goal in life, what is your main dharma, and if your main dharma is self-knowledge, it has a lot of energy, and then it means you have a perfect karma, simple life, house provided, living on little money, and it's perfect. It's perfect.
Okay.
Halfway between being a sannyasi and a person of the world.
Yeah.
Just don't waste the free time you have doing stupid activities. Just keep it, to the best of your ability. Keep
Absolutely.
it in your spiritual growth, development.
I try to do the best, of course.
Yeah. Because a lot of the time we want to be independent and free and have a lot of free time and so on. And then, but if we don't know how to use our free time, to our growth, to our development, to our elevation, and then it's better to be engaged in the world doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
Because at least you interact with the field and learning lessons from Ishvara. The field is a great school.
Yes.
Don't know what to do with your free time. It's better to stay busy.
Yeah. No, I know what to do with my free time. This is because I study a lot and, I write and I do a lot of things. So
Good.
I try to use it wisely. Or at least I try to do my best about this.
Okay, can we finish this? We have some more time. So often when our goals, our efforts, our initiative fails, we resort to prayer, imploring some deity to deliver us the goal, the goods we desire. This sometimes seems to work, but only because, as a coincidence, I mentioned Dayananda explained that, and it makes total sense, I mean, the best prayers, we know what it is. It's a proper action in a proper time and in harmony with the Dharma and harmony with my sattvic goal. One way to reflect, to make our dispassion firm, is to acknowledge that all the objects in the world are Ishvara's domains, not ours. We accept that all that happens, of course, as it must happen according to the laws we neither designed nor are capable to manipulate and change. So how can we understand this from different angles until we really develop dispassionate about what life presents to us again and again as our circumstance and experience? Is to understand, to acknowledge that everything, all objects of experience it belongs to Ishvara's domain. It's all under Ishvara's jurisdiction. Ishvara has a control of the field. Of course, I interact with Ishvara, and how I interact with Ishvara by respond to the stimulus coming. What Ishvara presents to me requires a response. My response has the power to somehow please Ishvara. It has the power to influence my future results of actions. Right? So Ishvara is not in this game alone. We provide Ishvara with our action. Ishvara provides us with the results of our actions combined with all other actions in the field. And then I keep responding to Ishvara, and Ishvara keeps giving back to us. So one way to develop this passion is to understand how dependent, you are talking about being dependent, Claude. The road for spiritual growth and development is to acknowledge and accept our dependence on Ishvara. We have no power. We have a certain limit, choice or power to respond to the stimuli by acting in a certain manner, which is in harmony with the universal laws and in harmony with my goal. But then forget it. The timing and what Ishvara is going to bring once this karmic equation, goes through the whole process, goes through the whole system and comes out as my life situation. I have no control of the timing and what is going to come out of the pipeline, as Ramji sometimes put it, That is my karma, our karmas, they combine, they interact, there are people doing things and saying things, and affecting on different levels, And then when it manifests as my Sparabhada karma, so I just take it, knowing that I have no control. I don't have any power to get what I want. Therefore, I am dispassionate in relation to that because I know what belongs to Ishvara belongs to Ishvara. The field, the system, this computer belongs to Ishvara, is Ishvara. I have no saying, I have no power. The only power I have is to acting out properly because that gives me a greater possibility of having favorable circumstances coming my way as the result of my efforts. You understand? And so that is the good way. Once we understand how to make our dispassion firm, is to understand and acknowledge that everything in Mithya belongs to Ishvara. It does not belong to us. We do not have the power to manipulate and control. Then we accept that all karmas that happens occurs as it must occur. It happens as it must happen according to the laws. We neither designed nor are capable to change. We cannot change this karmic equation. We did not design it, we did not fashion it, and we cannot manipulate and change what cannot be changed. What we can change, the whole process. The only thing I have a certain power to change is to change my behavior, the way I am acting when I respond to the stimuli, and my behavior, the way I receive the results of my actions, my parabada karma. We have this power, the power of changing the way I'm going to act and the change in the way I'm going to receive. But whatsoever Ishvara is going to keep bringing to me, I have no power. It belongs to the system, it belongs to Ishvara. We accept that all that happens, of course, and that we cannot control. We give up the false ownership of objects, so to speak. Now we think that we own things. Oh, my house, my car, my wife, my son, my daughter. I mean, we forget that the children are children of Ishvara as well. What are you talking about? It's my son. I made it. It was in my bed. I made love with my wife. It came from my sperm. No, we did not do anything. Ishvara somehow compelled us to have some fun. And then out of that passion, something started growing, and Ishvara did all the rest. And then this babe comes, immediately I develop attachment to the babe. I develop a sense of ownership. This is my baby, my child, my house, my car, my wife, mine, I am mine, I am mine. This is only trouble, it's delusion. We give up this sense of I, this false sense of ownership of everything that happens to us. And in doing so, we free ourselves from the insecurity. Once we understand what belongs to Ishvara, we talk about Mithya level, Kama Yoga, Dharma Yoga. Once we understand that everything is Ishvara, immediately we start enjoying this sense of security, peace, calmness. That expression that I loved recently, I have repeatedly present, be calm, stay calm, be calm. Nothing is under control because everything is under
Nice.
Shwara's control. Be calm, be dispassionate. Don't get any insecurity, any anxiety, or so on. Be calm because you don't control anything. Shwara is controlling. It requires understanding. Understanding. I have two friends that are lost, very close, intimate associates of cancer. And it's hard. Some people they have even young sometimes people who apparently they know who they are. They have because of attachment. So they don't understand clearly that everything that comes has to go, and when it's time to go, Ishwara is going to take it. He's going to destroy those objects, those jivas, and take it away, bring it back to the elements. So why to get all emotional, all sad, all disappointed, all heartbroken, and so on, except for the fact that I am attached to something and I don't want to let go of it. To be attached to anything that you don't want to let go is synonymous of lack of understanding of this natural laws. What comes, goes. That is decided by Ishvara. Ishvara is the one who brings things into existence, nitya, and then bringing them back into the elements, solve them back to the same elements. Nothing is destroyed. It goes back to the energy form, and then it again materializes physical material object. So if we have this knowledge very, very clear in our mind, we are not going to cry and weep when we see people dying. You understand? Don't cry for those who are dying. Jesus was said to say, leave the dead people to the dead people to be buried, and just move on. Everything that's born is going to die. Look for your own salvation, not the salvation of your physical body, because the physical body is bound by time. It's going to die. Look for your own liberation, your own salvation by understanding that you are already free, that you are already beyond time and space. And you are the light of consciousness and so on. Just work on your spiritual growth and let go of this attachment to objects that we have no control. They belong to the Lord. Lord decides when to bring them about, and sometimes they take those objects back to the elements after some time. And then there is this passage here that's very nice. If we resolve our mind by making peace with Ishvara, oh, how nice. What is making peace to Ishvara? Is understanding that Ishvara is all-knowing, is the one who is delivering, is sustaining, it's recycling everything, it's creating, it's maintaining, it's destroyed, all names, colors, and forms. And we are not going to be living under the delusion that we can find the liquor of immortality for my physical body and live forever and share a little bit of it with my children and my close friends so that I can have my physical body living forever. This is delusion. There is no such a thing. So we make friends with Ishvara. We resolve the mind by becoming very, very friendly, making peace, stop fighting Ishvara, stop struggling with Ishvara. Don't fight with Ishvara because we're going to lose. There's no way we can control the field. There's no way we can just tell Ishvara, no, geez, I want this, I want that, and this. Everybody's a loser if you want to to confront Ishvara. Understand? So if we resolve our mind by making peace with Ishvara, dispassion will become our default position with regard to objects. So we're going to have this sense of dispassion, this peace, satisfaction, security, a positive acceptation. Positive acceptation in the sense I accept what cannot be otherwise. I accept this. I don't accept things that, still can be improved or changed. I will correct my behavior. I'm not going to repeat certain mistakes endlessly, but I accept that which is beyond my ability to change things. I accept things that belongs to Ishvara, to the realm of Ishvara, the domain of Ishvara. So if I understand that, I become friendly, I make peace with Ishvara, and then dispassion will become my default position with regard to my relationship with the world of objects. Then I will start seeing things as they are rather than superimposing or projecting things that do not belong to objects. So let's say a physical body. Oh no, I don't want my brother to die. I don't want my wife to die. She's such a beautiful person. She's a loving person, and this and that, and it's the most wonderful person, and she should not die. And da, 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 da. No, I mean, it was superimposed values. Yeah? So I just have an objective view of things as they are. I see things as they are with all their limitations, and I stop distorting reality through my subjective superimposition, my projection, and try to change things. Then I will stop setting myself up for suffering. What is suffering? Is inability to understand what's going on, to understand the laws, to understand how Ishvara sustain and govern this field, the laws operating. So once I understand how things work here, and then I'm set for a good, happy life. But if I don't understand how things work here, I'm set up for frustration, for suffering. No? I'm going to try to impose things. I'm going to try to find things that do not exist, certain objects. Now, if I want security, I cannot look for security on any person, on any object, on any house, on any piece of land, or any investment. You know that in the market, in the stock market, they have come with some investments that they call security, not securities. They call. It's not by chance that they call it securities, because it's a projection, superimposition. Now, this is a real secure investment. No, it's backed up by these bonds and this and that. These are securities. No. If I superimpose security on something that it's not really a source of security, I'm setting myself up for suffering. There was a time that there was this investment, the funds of investment. A lot of people were making money when the market was hot. Normal housing, some money, 5, 6, 7% a year, and then things start becoming, the market start becoming stable. Everybody starting losing more than what they gain, and everybody start walking away from those those investment funds, But when they sell it, no, this is, it's a no-brainer here. There's no way you're going to lose. No. We set ourselves up for suffering by seeking security in an ever-changing world filled with objects deprived by security, because every object is changing, it's limited, and it's changing. Nothing can Nothing media can provide security. No actions of ours can provide security, except the actions of study and contemplation, the nature of my true self, which is the only source of security. And we need the help of the scriptures and the help of a competent teacher to help us with this work. Understand? So we need to understand what's going on here and stop setting ourselves up for failure, for suffering, by looking for things where they cannot be found. You cannot find things, that do not exist. In media, there is no such a thing as security. There is no security in media. And we keep looking for security in media. It's a setup. And everybody, government, the TV, everybody, keeps on. You want security and happiness. You're going to find it in media. No, you're looking in the wrong place. And how are you going to get people convinced about that? So Ishwara came up with the scriptures so that some people, can begin having their eyes opened a little bit. It's hard to believe that there is no security in media, but with time we develop it, and then we understand it, and then we start finding our way spiritually. We find out, we know what we can get from the objects of media and what we cannot get from the objects of media. Media, every object has a certain utilitarian value that cannot be negated. It's better not to have many desires, but have the desire for the greatest. If you have, Nisargadatta Maharaj used to say, everybody lives on desires, but if you want to have a desire for the greatest. Have a desire for self-knowledge and moksha. That's the only desire that's going to deliver us what we are looking for, security, peace, and happiness. It's not in media. It is in satya, our fundamental nature. And that way we have completed our verse 12. And if anybody has a quick question, we could address it. If Claude has a difficult question, you can present your question that you told me before, and then we can address it a little bit, but most probably I could talk more with you later about that, But you can present your question because I forgot. It's a question that could be a good advertisement for our next meeting. Which
yes, you mean the question that I tell you today?
Yeah.
Yes, because I read the book of James and the Essence of Enlightenment, and it's hard to me to understand when he at the beginning talks about the vision of non-duality, so that every object is not outside and it only appears in the mind. That in a certain way I agree, I understand, but I don't have totally clear, because I can say that, for example, yes, this pencil is a thought because we have here, I have something, but I have the thought that is a pencil.
Right.
But I cannot realize totally that this is not outside me. There is a conviction inside me that it's, in a way, it's outside me. I cannot prove that it's only in my mind. So I can understand that the mind has a lot of thoughts, ideas about the object, that the objects are really only form and name. This I understand, but I cannot say that it is only in my mind.
Yeah, this is a very, very subtle and profound teaching. We call it the location of object. The way to understand this teaching, we are not going to really go into that because it's a session. But the best way to understand this is by analyzing our state of mind during the dream state.
Mm-hmm.
In the dream state, there are a lot of objects that appear. So there is the knower of the objects, and then there is the process of interaction with the object, and then all those transactions are happening. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And if we're analyzing our dream state, we see clearly that the objects in the dream state, they don't exist apart from my mind, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a projection of my mind.
Yeah.
They exist not apart from my mind, but it's simply a projection of my mind. Okay? So this is a good way for us to understand the awakening state, because the awakening state, it's a similar thing. We see one difference. In the awakened state, we have the field of Maya, which is the Dharma field, which is created by this physical, material objects. There are subtle objects that exist, such as in the dream states, our emotions and thoughts and so on. Those are objects as well. Our memories, those are all objects. Okay? But you refer to a physical object like this. So there are some teachings that's going to prove to us,
Mm-hmm.
even from the standpoint of science, when we look into quantum physics, the quantum physics proves to us that the physical material objects is not what it appears to be. Because the more we investigate, look more and more closely into the atomic and subatomic structure of every physical material, we begin understanding that it's not really a physical material solid object. Understand? So quantum physics gives us some hints of that.
Mm-hmm.
Some other teachings that show us that the object, although it exists in the field of Ishvara, which is a creation, a projection of Ishvara, it does not exist outside of the observer, the knower of the object, because the objects, they are produced only for the sake of the knower to know the object. Understand? Mm-hmm. The whole game between Ishvara, Jiva, and the object of Jiva is just so that Ishvara or consciousness have Jivas, so that they can experience objects within their own mind. Understand? And there are some teachings that can unfold it very nicely until we have a clear understanding of that. It takes some time, but this is a very subtle teaching. Once we understood that, and then we know that everything is just image flashing in the screen,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak, you know?
Yeah.
Nothing is, but because the knower, this conscious principle of minds, they don't exist apart from consciousness, and everything is appearing, you know, on this consciousness.
It was surprising to me that in the book of James is one of the, I don't know if the second or the third chapter, so it is at the beginning, and I say to me, oh, but this is very profound. It is not, you cannot speak about that only in one chapter. I thought that, so I think it's, I have to study more about that for understanding, really understand it.
Yeah. I mean, there is no object that stands without the knower. You know, there is object standing without consciousness existence. The object exists, and then cloud exists with nothing in this object, okay? So there is an existence of the object, there is existence of Claudio. So the existence of cloud and the existence of this object, it's borrowed from conscious existence itself. Everything happens within the scope of this conscious existence, and nothing is separate from conscious existence. Mm-hmm. So there is no object which is not apart. There is no object apart from consciousness itself. You understand? So the mind is the instrument by which consciousness can experience the world of objects. And every experience is consciousness, and everything is happening, not separate. It's a superimposition, projection There is no separation. That's why it's important to contemplate this in analogy with the dream state, because the dream state is the jiva reality. So how we project the jiva reality? We collect impressions from the reality of Ishvara, okay? Which is Vyavaharika, Satya, realidade, the reality of Ishvara, and then the jiva, which is, remain the name, I forgot the Sanskrit name. It's another reality, which is the reality of the jiva. Pratibhasika Satya. Pratibhasika Satya. Pratibhasika Satya is going to perceive the world. The world is what it is. That's what we talk about, having an objective view of Ishvara's, Pratibhasika reality. Because when we see things subjectively, we are going to superimpose things that do not belong to this reality of Ishvara.
Mm-hmm.
In the dream world, we collect all these impressions from our waking state, and then we project them. And all this experience, all this space, these objects, these actions, this activity, they are all being originated by the mind and not from the mind. So if we understand that and we start tracing, drawing some parallel with our waking state, we understand that every object exists not apart from my mind, and they exist so that they can be known. And I join these objects as consciousness. Why we join these objects in consciousness? Why we are one with every object? Because we share the same existence. The object exists, I, the jiva, exists. Fundamentally, we are both existence. The only difference is that I have a body, a physical material body, with a certain reflectivity due to my subtle body, that allows me to reflect consciousness and see this inert object. But this is existence, and I am existence, and existence is synonymous of consciousness. So there is no separation between this object and myself, and all of that happens not apart from consciousness. Everything exists within consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of samples and examples we can play with in the next class, but this is a very profound contemplation and very important until we understand the nature of reality is just non-duality. There is only consciousness. Everything is just a superimposition. Everything happens within consciousness. A lot of the time we say that consciousness spreads all over and pervades everything, as if consciousness is located in time. No, consciousness, those are concessions to ignorance. Consciousness not pervades things in time. Sometimes we say pervades time and it goes beyond media. Okay? No, media and time and space and the universe, it appears in consciousness, It appears in consciousness, time, space, the 5 elements, and so on. Everything appears in me. Me, who is me? Conscious. Consciousness. I am consciousness. Without me, there is nothing going on. Understand? So we can play with this next Thursday. I'm going to send a message with a few days so that we can have more people participate.
Yes.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste. Nice. Very nice to meet with you again. I really want to meet again. I have Dave getting back to me and say, "Wow, what's going to happen? So how can we begin getting together again?" And I have been really looking forward. I had to stop because of my throat. I still have to be a little bit careful, but I'm good. See you next time, Ishwara reading.
Thank you, Arlinda.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you so
Full
much.
satsang.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.